Hi, good afternoon. It's Thomas Trilby here. Welcome to the third of the 4 o'clock on a Thursday. Wild at Home Greenbelt sessions. Welcome. If you're watching live, an extra warm welcome to you, mainly because it is flipping warm. So if you are here this afternoon, thank you for coming in and watching this. And from outside, I'm sure lots of you will be watching this later on the view. Yay. And I've still got the volume up on my iPad. I should have made that mistake before. So what we've got today is Kim. Kim runs Darn It workshops. She came to the festival last year, and she was doing the festival again, I think, this year to do her arts and crafts. So some of you will recognise her face. Now, you will need some materials for this workshop. So if you're watching it live, of course, you can pause and then come back and watch it at a later point when you've got the materials. Kim will tell you what you need at the start. Of course, if you're watching this later, you can just pause the video when you like and watch it at your own pace. Don't forget, you can also go back and watch the previous 2 sessions. I did one 2 weeks ago, and we had kitchen dancing last week. So remember, they're online. You can go back and watch them when you like. So, Kim, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello, Jem. Good to see you.
Kim, remind me where you're coming from today.
So I'm in very sunny Huddersfield at the moment, and it's a beautiful day here. It's gorgeous.
Oh, that's excellent. So, Kim, you've done sessions at Greenbelt before, so some people will recognise you from the Make and Create venue. What did you do when you were with us last year? Remind me.
So last year we did actually do this one, and it was so popular. So I thought it would be really good because I know there was quite a lot of people last year who wanted to get into this, but we were so busy the whole time. So we did this, we did mono printing, and we did kumihimo braiding, and that was very popular as well. And everyone was just so lovely.
Quite nice, actually, isn't it? Because you can only get a small number doing the workshop when you're doing it live. At the event. So this is nice, so more people can have a go. And I know that you said that Greenbelt is one of your favourite festivals as well, isn't it?
Oh, it's absolutely lovely. It's just such a warm, welcoming festival. And I felt it was so much love there. It was so nice.
And I know you do Glastonbury as well, because we've seen you up in the Greenfields at Glastonbury, and you do End of the Road Festival and a few others. So, Kim, I'm going to hand over to you. I'll pick up just at the end. Just to remind people that, like a lot of artists, you would have been at a lot of festivals this year, and a lot of us have had our work sort of disappear. So it's fantastic that Greenbelt are doing sessions like this and bringing the festival into people's homes. But if you do want to support at all, there should be some PayPal details down below here. So if you want to dip into the hat, as we like to call it, for any of the artists, then please do. So, Kim, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. All right. Hi, Greenbelt folks. It's so lovely to be here. It's such a wonderful festival. So I think it's so nice that they're doing this. So today we're going to be doing some crafts with stuff that you've got around the house, probably. So I'm sure you've all got a pair of jeans in your house that you've had for ages. They maybe got some holes in. I know I always have a pile of ones that I'm going to fix at some point, but I'm never going to fix them. So we might as well do something nice with them. So I've got a pair of jeans here. If you don't have something like that, you can also use things like this. Is like a kind of, I'm not sure how to describe it, sort of a tweedy type material. You can use anything like that. So it doesn't have to be denim, but something thicker will work quite nicely because it's got that really kind of sculptural quality to it. So we're going to be making lots of different things like that. So things that can be a bit more 3D, things that can be flatter, and all sorts of different amazing sculptural forms. So I'm probably going to go through this quite quickly. So you can always, if you want to watch this back at some point, you can slow things down and kind of, because I've got a bit of a Blue Peter thing going on here. I've got things I've made earlier so that you don't have to watch me cut out loads of things, because that would just be really boring and you don't want that. So what we're going to start with is one like this one that I held up earlier. So you can do this either as, you can sort of do it as a decoration if you like. So you can make it really lovely and 3D like that, or you can make it a little bit flatter like that sort of thing. So it's still got that lovely texture to it. So what you'd need for any of these things we're doing is, like I said before, your denim. You need some good fabric scissors, but you can just use paper ones. It might just take a little bit longer. And a needle and thread. So I've threaded up all of mine so you don't have to watch me thread needles. So I would use embroidery thread as well, rather than just normal thread. Although if you've only got normal thread in the house, that's fine, go for that. But because it's that little bit thicker, I tend to find it works a little bit better with denim, just because then it's easier to get through, it holds together, it goes with that kind of structure of it. So onto the crafting. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some circles. So for one like this, you need 8 circles of fabric. So I know this is always a thing at festivals, if anyone did this with me at Greenbelt last year, I'm not particularly precise. I don't know if you can see, that's not a very good circle, but I'm never particularly bothered by that. But I know other people are a bit more perfectionist than me, but I always think when you fold them up, you can't tell that they're not good circles. So I'm just going to move this down for a second. So if you wanted to, you could get some kind of a template, move that up a bit. So you get something like this. So that's just a random thing I had around the house, and you can draw around it. And I've done mine as quite big circles. So this is a lot smaller than the ones that I've done, but you can do them at any size. So the ones that I'm doing, I'll move this up again, will end up being this size. So it is quite chunky. So that is, this size ends up being that sort of thing, whereas this would be much smaller. And you might see I've drawn on that with a chalk marker. And that's just because on denim, it's really hard to kind of see if you draw on it in pencil or something. So something like a chalk marker will come out much cleaner. So then you just chop that out. But like I said before, Blue Peter version, big stack of them that I did earlier. So, and I would recommend as well, if you've got different types of denim and stuff like that around your house, I would go with different colours. So I've got some black denim, some blue denim, and a little bit of cord as well. And you can use both sides of it because denim's got that lovely thing where it's got different colours going on. So what we're going to do, fold it in half. So you're kind of making a taco, and then fold it again like that. So then you've got this folded edge. And then what you're going to do is get your needle and thread. So I would just put a little knot in the end like that. Don't double it up, so it's just going to be like that. And then where you've got that join there, you're just going to sew through it. And that's just going to hold all of those together really nicely. But we're going to do a few more little stitches. So you go around the side like this, pull it tight, and then around the other side. Like that. So you're going to have a kind of little triangle thing going on. So then you're going to get your other one. Like I said, definitely not exact circles, but that's okay. I quite like it looking a bit rustic. So then taco shape, fold it again. So my favourite thing about denim is that it's got a kind of origami structure to it. When you put some folds into it, it looks really lovely. So I've got a few different things we're going to be doing later where you really see that kind of origami type thing come through. So on this one, I'm going to go in through there. So you're just connecting that one onto this one. And then go around the side like that. And then in between them and back through. And then you keep going on like that. So if anyone's got any questions as well, you can always put them in the comments, or if you want me to repeat anything. So if I keep looking off to my side, it's just because if anyone's got any questions, I will be checking in. And then you just keep going on like that. This goes through there. And then another couple of stitches. So I'm just going to do 4 of these so that you don't have to watch me do loads of them. But if you were going to do something like this, you would just do another layer of them on top of them. And then if you're going to do something like this kind of thing, then you'd do, I think that was 16 of them all on top of each other. So we're going to fold this one again. And then it will always feel a little bit wobbly at this point. So what I'd recommend doing is just kind of, once you've done this bit, I would stitch through them a good few times. So the best thing about this is it's a craft that you don't have to go out and, well, you don't have to order things for online. And you can always improvise if you don't have the exact things. So just 3 stitches on each one. It's always at this stage where it looks a little bit weird and a little bit kind of pinwheely. So your first layer would look something like that. So a little bit odd. And then again, fold that in half. Fold it in half again like that. So then if you were going to do another layer of them, that would just go on top and you would just stitch up from the back and through there. And so I would do at least another layer of one on top of each of those, and that would just give it a really good bit of stability. But now that you've seen how to do that one, I'll go on to something else. But what I would do with that generally as well is I'd always put buttons on it. So I've got a massive thing full of buttons here. So I'd just pick out, I tend to go for like quite a chunky button for this kind of thing. And you just put a button right in the middle there and stitch through each bit a few times just to give it that little bit more stability. So that's how you do that one. So you just keep layering it up, and then we'll go on to something else. What one should we do now? So this kind of thing. So depending on how wide you make the strip to begin with, you end up with different lengths, like that sort of thing. And we'll go over how to do this bit in the middle soon as well. So what you do to start with is get a big long rectangle, fold it in half, and you could put pins along it if you wanted to, but like I've said before, I always do kind of like just a little bit slapdash with it. So then you just cut little bits like this, and you can cut them really close together or a little bit further apart, totally up to you. So you end up with a little bit of fringing. But like I said, Blue Peter type thing. I've got one somewhere in my pile of things over here that I've done before. I say that, I'm not going to be able to find it now. There we go. So something like that. So you'd go along the whole thing. And then what I've done here is a long running stitch, but I'll show you how to do that as well. So you can use whatever colour thread you like. I'm just going for lots of bright colours so that you can see it a little bit clearer on the screen. So with this, we'll pop this down again. Just a long running stitch. So this is a really good one for kids. Obviously, you've got to be careful with the needles, but because it's quite a long stitch, you don't have to do all that much of it. So it just makes it that little bit easier. So you're just going to go along like that. So when it fills up the needle, you just pull it through like that sort of thing, and it gathers it all together. And then this one, I've already stitched along the whole thing. So I can hopefully pull it along here. Oh, I clearly did not put a good enough knot at the end of that one. So we're going to go through that again. Sorry about that. So we're just going to do the stitch, and you can do sort of like I'm doing here. I'm going to have to stitch it and then do the fringing afterwards. So if you do it that way, then you should be able to chop it all down a little bit easier. So then just pull it through. So then I'm going to do a little bit of fringing on this all the way along. So this gives you a really kind of like wild looking flower, so it's quite nice. So then when you get to this point, you can just shuffle it along here. So this is the only problem. Doing it this way, sometimes you don't get as definite fringing, so it can be a little bit tricky to cut. And you can do this kind of thing as well with felt and any kind of thick material like this. I wouldn't do it with anything like cotton because it's just that little bit trickier to use. So then when you get to that point, you can pull it along that thread, and this is why you have to do a really good knot on it, because like that one I did earlier where it kind of disintegrated. Then you get the two ends, pop them together like that, and then just use your needle to bring them together. And I would do a couple of stitches just to make sure that they're well attached. And then with this kind of thing, you can turn them into kind of like a garland, you can make it into a headband, you can make it into a brooch. Normally at festivals, I do this as brooches, but I always think they'd look really nice as like a really long garland. So then you can get a button, pop it on there, and then with your needle at the back, you can go through these. So with something like this, if you're going to do it as a brooch, I would probably get a little circle of denim and stitch it on the back, just to give it a little bit more structure, because if not, it can kind of sit a little bit oddly. So then that's what it looks like on the front. And I would probably go through it a few more times just to make sure it's really, really securely on there. And there's so many different ways you can do this kind of thing. So that's what it looks like on the front. And that's what it looks like on the back. So this one is that technique, but with this little thing on it. So this is a technique that I really, really love, and this is one that you can do in any material. So it's called a Suffolk puff or a yo-yo. So I think yo-yo is the variation that they call it in America, whereas Suffolk puff is the kind of English version. So for that, I love these. They're so much fun to do. And it's the kind of thing where when I get started on doing this, I end up making loads of them, and I use these for loads of different techniques and loads of different crafts. So with this, you just get a little circle of fabric, and you can do them all different sizes with this one as well. So again, get another threaded needle. So with this one, in fact, I'll do it on one of the bigger circles so it's easier to see what's going on. So you could do it either side with like the top or the reverse. So then you're going to do, I like this one because every technique I'm doing today has a lot of really long stitches rather than really neat, delicate stitching. So it's all really nice, easy stuff. So then, like I was saying earlier, as it fills up the needle, you just kind of pull it through. And this is when you have to make sure that you've got a really good knot in it. And then pull it tight. And then you just keep going along like that. And this is a really nice technique to just do like sat in front of the telly. Like sometimes I do rag rug workshops, and I've done that at quite a lot of festivals. And this is a technique that I do a lot to go along with rag rug things. And often I'll just churn them out while I'm sat watching the telly. And it's just a really nice, relaxing technique. So you go all the way around your circle of fabric, pull it all through. And when you get to that point, you just keep on going. And then when you get to the join, so you get to that sort of point, and then you just want to make sure that you end up with your needle on the outside of the fabric. Sometimes you'll find the other end of your thread gets a little bit stuck here, and you just have to tug it through. And this is why embroidery thread is really good with this as well, because you can really tug it without it breaking. Whereas if you use normal thread, it will normally snap at that point. So then, should have shown that a little bit slower. Sorry about that. So it ends up something like that. So then what you're going to do is make sure it's really pulled tight at the top, and then kind of pull all of these side bits out. So you'll end up with little bits like this, and you just want to make sure that it's all flat so it ends up being a really nice circle. And then pull it tight again, and then go through the middle. So you end up with something like that. So it'll be really nice and textured on one side, and if you turn it over, it'll be really flat. And I often find when other people do these for the first time, they think that it should be that way up, but no, it's this lovely texture that you want. So again, from the giant tub of buttons, you'd get a button. So I always use something like that to cover up the middle point and just stitch through it a few times. And just making sure that that button is really nice and secure. And I've gone for one here that's got really big eyes to it. So normally I would do quite a few rounds of stitching through it. I'd probably do about 3 different goes through each hole, but I'm not going to make you watch me do all of that. So then pull it tight, so that would look something like that. And then with all these techniques, you can layer them up as well. So I sometimes think it's quite nice with these kind of things to have 2 different Suffolk puffs layered on top of each other, but you could always do like this one where you've got the kind of fringing effect. I don't know the actual kind of name for this technique, but it's such a nice one. So then got a few other ones. So this is where the real kind of origami bit comes in. So this bit in the middle, so this is again 2 techniques put together. So the bit in the middle is literally the fringing, but rather than pulling it into a circle, as you pull it, you make sure it's ruffled up like that. So you get a kind of almost like a sea anemone effect. And then the outside bits, this is, I can never remember the name for this technique. It's a Japanese kind of fabric flower technique. And you can do it in a lot of different ways. So you get a little square, and with this, because it's a kind of origami technique, you want to make sure it's a really good square. So the best way to do that is trim something and then do it on a diagonal like that and make sure it's pretty much the same height. So then with this, I'm going to fold it on the diagonal, and then this is it. I'm going to do this really, really slowly. So you kind of get this edge and you're putting it towards the middle, but as you're doing it, you're kind of forcing the middle bit out. So you're creating a crease like that. So I'll do that again. So that goes to there, but as you do it, so it's almost like this, the middle of that point is meeting that bit. So you end up with, it's one of those ones where if you try and think about it too hard, it gets even more complicated. So you do that on one side, and then the same thing again. So it's, that goes into there with a fold. So it'll fold like that. So you end up with this really lovely kind of floral bit to it. So I'll get another needle. Where have they got to? And then, so you get your needle and thread, and there'll be a bit where there's a bit more bulk to it. So if you're doing this, you'll be able to feel there's kind of a flatter bit and a bulkier bit. So you're going to go through the bulkier bit. And again, this is great with embroidery thread, because anything thinner is just going to be a bit of a nightmare to do. So pull it through, give it a really, really good wiggle, and pull it tight. So I would do a good few of these together just to make it look nice. And then, oh, sorry, missed a step. So this little bulky bit here, I normally try and find a way to do stuff with absolutely all of my scraps, but this is one where they're just too small. Can't think of anything to do with them. So then again, fold this like this. That goes to that point and then to the middle. That goes there and then to the middle. So again, another nice floral shape. And then again, Going to go through there, give it a really good wiggle. And then trim off the bottom bit. And this is another one that you can do with any fabric, but with the denim, it's really nice and sculptural. And I used to do loads of these. It's one of those things where, like a lot of origami, the first few times you do it, it seems really complicated. And then when you click with it, it's really satisfying to just whip it out and just keep going and going with it. This is when I first started making things to sell. I used to make loads and loads of these as little brooches. And depending on what fabric you use, it really changes how it looks. Like, it will have much softer edges, whereas with this, it makes it really bulky. So trim that down. So now that I've got 3 of those together, you can sort of start to see how it's going to look. And you could do loads of these all at the same time. So you could have something with like 8 of those, so it makes a really big circle. But I'm only going to do 4. But you can really make this your own. So same thing again. And then stitch through it. And then pull it on through. And again, this is, I think, pretty much everything I'm doing today. It always just looks lovely with a button on in the end. So then pull that tight. So lovely kind of floral forms there. So if you kept going with loads of them, you can make something really bulky and amazing looking. But with just 4, you can do something like that. And then just get your needle again, and you're just going to go through the first one that you did. Push it on through. Pull it tight. And then you've got something like that. So it would look a lot better with loads more of them. But you can always put on something like that in the middle, and then just you end up with like a big gap in the middle of everything. So it's quite easy to kind of put things on the top of it. So then through the middle with that. Pop that one on there. And then with this, there's a lot of like readjusting to make sure it sits in the right place. So this is a much more bulky technique than all of the other ones. And then pull it on through, and then you could always put a button on top of that one. So I think there's one more that I can run through really, really quickly. I think there's time. So then this one is really, really simple. So with that, all you need is some long, thin lengths like that. This is a really quick and easy one. So then you get your needle and thread. And again, nice, easy, long, straight stitch. Again, a really good one to do while you're sat watching the telly, while you're sat outside in the gorgeous sunshine that we've got at the moment. So you can do this one either in one bit or in 2 parts. And you just keep going along to the end of it. So sort of like some of the ones we were doing earlier, you pull it tight and you've got this nice kind of fan effect. So if you look at this one from the back, it's 2 of those put together. So I should have another bit of that somewhere. There we go. So then just get the next one, and with the same bit while it's still attached, just going to go along. So really nice, easy stitching. And with this, I've done it so it's quite a wide bit of denim. But if you did it much thinner, like I think this is a lot thicker than this one. So if you did it much thinner, you could always do it as something that could have something else layered behind it. So then pull it tight. So this is one of the much less complicated ones. So then those two halves make a hole, and it's not the neatest I've ever done it. And you can sort of see that there's like a natural curve over here. So what I would normally do is, if it's got a little curve on it like that, I would literally just trim it so it's kind of the height it wants to be, if that makes any sense. And then trim the other one to match. And you can do this with a pair of pinking shears as well, if you want it to have a bit more of a rustic look. Pull it tight, and you can see that looks a lot neater now. So then all you'd need is a couple of stitches at the back to put those together, a button or something like that in the middle, so you could always have all sorts of different bits in the middle to finish it off. You can make a little Suffolk puff like that and put it on top, and that would work really nicely. And a similar one to that is, where is it? So this one is the same thing, but it's a lot thinner, and it's pulled really taut so that it goes into a little spiral. So loads of stuff that you can have a really good play with, and yeah, have a good experiment. Just thinking. I think that's all the techniques I had. I've just blasted through them.
I've got to tell you, Kim, that was absolutely perfect. Excellent stuff.
Oh, thank you.
I say, you've got a knack for this.
Brilliant.
You're Blue Peter presenter. Thank you, Kim. I was watching there. Lots of brilliant ideas. I've seen you do those at festivals, but I've seen you do it surrounded by so many people that it's really great to be able to see you do it here, and then be able to pause the video and redo it. So I'm sure there's going to be loads of people trying this out, which is great. Am I right in thinking you've got to shop and sell things as well?
I do, and I've got loads of different kits that I make, and I've got some videos to accompany them as well. I've got a YouTube channel now, which doesn't have loads on, but I've got quite a few different creative videos.
So if people look for Darn It Workshops, is that where they should go?
Absolutely. I'm there on at Darn It Workshops on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, absolutely everything. I'm sure more than that as well.
Fantastic. And hopefully the details will be below, and also of the hat if you want to give some money to support us artists, and you specifically, Kim, the details of your PayPal account are below. Excellent. Well, I'll let you go, Kim. Thank you very much. All the best. And we'll hopefully see you in a field at some point soon.
That would be absolutely wonderful. And have a great day, Jem, and absolutely everyone watching.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kim. See you again.
Bye.
Excellent. And just in case anyone is slightly confused, my performing name is Thomas Trilby, but my real name that my mum calls me is Jem. So it's a little bit confusing. I know I get called Jem and Thomas. So next week, we have got Professor Pumpernickel. He is an amazing performer. He does science experiments that are fun. He is an absolutely brilliant character. He's done the festival before. We had him in the indoor tent. We had him outside. He got a massive crowd. He blows things up. He makes his head expand. You will absolutely love him. And he's performing from his workshop. That is going to be the same time, 4:00 next week. Keep your eye out on all the Greenbelt socials. Wild at Home, lots more things coming up. Don't forget to check out all the different videos that are now online from Greenbelt. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thanks again to Kim, and we will see you same time, same place next week. Thank you. Bye.